Help! I cheated with the realtor during a house tour and now I think my husband is getting suspicious.
We're all humans, and sometimes we act without thinking, and only after we're done acting do we realize we made a huge mistake and messed up big time. I'm currently caught between crossroads. I don't even know what to do. I cheated on my husband with our real estate agent and even spent the night with him. My husband doesn't know yet, but I don't know what to tell him. I feel very guilty, and I know that the only way I'll be able to alleviate that guilt is by telling my husband the truth. But then again, I know my husband. He is very quick to anger and also vengeful, so I know he might never forgive me for cheating on him. My husband, for all his faults, is also very nice, kind, and a great person. I do not want to lose him, but I'll also never be able to rest unless I reveal the truth. I know you're very curious about what happened, so I'll explain. But first, you need to know where my husband and I are coming from, so you understand why I appreciate him so much. My name is Sarah, and I am a 32-year-old woman. I am married to Timothy, a 33-year-old man. We dated for a year and have been married for 5 years. We have 2 kids, who I'll call Kai and Stormy for the sake of privacy. They're both male and are under the ages of 5. I met my husband Timothy at a friend's party, surrounded by chatter and laughter. Jenny, my friend, was hyping him up like crazy, and when our eyes locked, there was this instant vibe. We started chatting, and it was surprisingly easy. Timothy's smile and interest in what I had to say made it all feel comfortable. We moved away from the crowd to a quieter spot, and our conversation just flowed. Turns out, we had a bunch of things in common. Art, life views, you name it. As we talked about dreams and the unpredictability of life, it felt like the universe was doing some kind of matchmaking. The night unfolded, and it was clear there was something special between us, like we were on the same wavelength. In the midst of a friend's party, surrounded by the chatter and laughter, I met Timothy. Jenny, my friend, was hyping him up like crazy, and when our eyes locked, there was this instant vibe. We started chatting, and it was surprisingly easy. Timothy's smile and interest in what I had to say made it all feel comfortable, and there was an effortless flow to our conversation. We moved away from the crowd to a quieter spot, and our conversation just flowed. Turns out, we had a bunch of things in common: art, life views, you name it. As we talked about dreams and the unpredictability of life, it felt like the universe was doing some kind of matchmaking. The night unfolded, and it was clear there was something special between us, like we were on the same wavelength. In less than a few months of being together, Timothy and I decided to take the plunge and move in with each other. It wasn't a snap decision, but the strong connection and all the good times we shared made it pretty clear. We wanted to build a life together. Our first joint pad was this snug apartment in a friendly complex. Merging our stuff and getting used to each other's routines had its ups and downs, but we always tried finding a middle ground and compromise. That apartment complex was like our little village. We got to know the neighbors, and those weekend BBQs in the shared yard became chances to make friends. We weren't just sharing a roof. We were figuring out our life together as a team lol. Living together wasn't even just about splitting bills and grocery runs. It was about proving our commitment and believing in our shared future. Even the simple stuff, like choosing a paint color for the living room. We started dreaming about having a place that was really ours. The apartment was cool, but we wanted something more permanent. We even made a pact. We were going to save up and buy our own house someday. Turning that dream into reality meant getting serious about our finances. We saved hard, making choices that sometimes meant cutting back, all with the goal of making our dream home a reality. Every dollar saved was a step closer to the place where we could start a family and make lasting memories. Moving in together after less than a year might have raised some eyebrows, but for us it felt right. Though to be honest, moving in together with Timothy brought its own set of real-life challenges. Figuring out how to split the bills was a bit awkward at first, but we had to sit down and work out a system that felt fair for both of us. Budget talks became a thing, and finding the sweet spot took some honest conversation and a bit of give and take. Chores were another hurdle. We quickly realized we had different definitions of clean. Setting up a routine that played to our strengths and made us both feel like we were pulling our weight took some trial and error. There were a few debates about whose turn it was for dishes, but eventually we landed on a system that clicked. Then there was the whole personal space thing. We both needed our alone time, and it took some figuring out to respect each other's need for space while still keeping that sense of togetherness. We had to learn it's okay to do our own thing, even in the same space. After about a year of dating and hanging out with Timothy, it was clear we were more than just a fling. We laughed together, supported each other, and it felt like we were both on the same page about the future. One night, after a chill dinner, Timothy looked at me and said, "Sarah, I can't picture my life without you. What if we make this official?" His words were simple, but they hit me right in the feels. Deciding to tie the knot after a year felt right, like the next step in our story. Luckily, our families got along. Timothy won over my family with his kindness, and his folks welcomed me with open arms. But some people thought we were moving too fast, like we were rushing into things. Despite what others said, we were pretty confident in our decision. Our love was strong, and planning the wedding turned into a team effort. From picking the venue to choosing colors, it was a joint venture that tested our ability to make decisions together. During the planning, though, those concerns from friends and family lingered. Convos over dinner would sometimes take a turn, a gentle reminder to take it slow. Their hearts were in the right place, but we stayed true to our path. After all, we didn't believe in anything being too soon. I knew a lot of people that didn't even date for up to a year before tying the knot, and they were very happy together. I also knew a lot of people that dated for a long time, and then they got married and didn't last, so there was no such thing as too soon. Our wedding turned out to be a real journey, especially because we weren't rolling in dough. Timothy and I wanted a celebration that felt true to us without maxing out our credit cards. It meant facing the reality of our budget from the get-go and getting creative to make it work. First things first, finding a venue that was cute but didn't cost an arm and a leg. We scouted around, went to a bunch of open houses, and haggled for a deal. Finally, we stumbled upon this cozy place with a sweet garden vibe. Not a fancy banquet hall, but it had the charm we wanted and fit our budget. Sorting out the guest list was like walking a tightrope. We wanted to invite everyone, but we had to be realistic. We kept it close to family and friends, trying to keep things intimate. It was tough cutting some folks, but we knew it'd help us focus on what really mattered. Food was another puzzle to solve. We went for tastings, tried to haggle on the menu, and landed on a spread that was tasty but didn't cost an arm and a leg. It was about finding the right balance between quality and keeping our wallets happy. Shopping for our wedding outfits was an adventure too. We skipped the fancy boutiques and looked for affordable options. We even considered secondhand dresses. Eventually, we found outfits that fit our style without wrecking our budget. Decorations were a family affair. We got friends and family to help us make centerpieces and spruce up the place. It was a bit of work, but it added a personal touch and saved us some serious cash compared to hiring pros. Figuring out how to keep things low-key, but not too casual, was a real challenge. We wanted simplicity without making our day feel ordinary. So, we chose to invest in what mattered most to us: a cool venue, good food, and personal touches, while cutting back on things that didn't really matter. Just a year into our marriage, we got hit with some unexpected news. We were going to be parents. It wasn't part of our grand plan, more like a surprise that caught us off guard. Timothy and I were scared at first, not knowing what this sudden twist meant for us. But as it sank in, we decided to roll with it and do our best for our little one. The news came out of the blue, messing with the groove we'd just found as a married couple. Having a baby so soon wasn't in the cards we'd laid out for ourselves. In those early days, fear kicked in. The kind that comes with a ton of questions and worries about what the future would look like with a tiny human in tow. Our fear wasn't because we didn't love each other or weren't committed. It was more about realizing that our lives were about to change big time. Money concerns, the whole responsibility of being parents, and figuring out how to adjust to this new reality were all hanging over us. We were just regular folks facing an extraordinary moment that would shake up our world. But amid the fear, there was a glimmer of hope. We were gonna be parents, bringing a whole new person into our lives. Once the shock settled, we started seeing this surprise as a blessing in disguise. Fear turned into a promise to face whatever was coming and give our soon-to-arrive kiddo the best home possible. The months that followed were a wild ride, from baby classes to setting up a nursery. Each step brought a mix of excitement and nerves. We read books on parenting, asked buddies for tips, and did our best to gear up for the arrival of our little one. The day Kai was born, everything changed. Holding our brand new son, all the worries disappeared, replaced by this crazy love and the weight of being responsible for this tiny human. Kai, with his little hands and curious eyes, became the center of our world. We were officially parents, and even though it wasn't the plan, it felt like destiny had led us to this amazing chapter. Being parents was a lesson in rolling with the punches. Late nights, diaper duty, and singing lullabies became the new normal. As we tackled the challenges of raising a kid, we discovered a whole new level of love and strength we never knew we had. Looking back, that initial fear was just our reaction to the unknown. But it also pushed us to grow, both as individuals and as a couple. We learned to rely on each other, talk about our worries and dreams openly, and celebrate the little victories that come with being parents. Kai's arrival might not have been part of our game plan, but he turned out to be the best surprise ever. His giggles filled our home with happiness, and this journey of parenthood brought Timothy and me even closer. We might not have had it all figured out from the start, but our commitment to doing our best for Kai turned us into parents who embraced the unpredictability of the journey with open arms. Funny how life works. Just 2 years after Kai made his entrance, we found out another tiny human was on the way. This time around, instead of the initial shock, fear settled in again, but it wore a different hat. It wasn't about how to be parents, it was about the cold, hard truth of money. We were barely scraping by as it was, and the thought of adding another little one to the mix brought a whole new set of worries. The news hit us, and the joy of expecting another baby was accompanied by a pang of anxiety. Questions about how we'd afford diapers, doctor visits, and everything in between flooded our minds. We were scared. Scared that our financial boat was too small for another passenger. But just like before, we decided to face it head-on and make the best of the situation. Our jobs were steady, but they weren't exactly funding a life of luxury. Making ends meet was a constant juggling act, and the idea of stretching our budget even thinner with another mouth to feed had us feeling the pressure. We weren't drowning in cash, but we were drowning in determination to give our growing family a good life. Facing the fear of financial strain, we made a pact to find new job opportunities and pick up side hustles. It wasn't about reaching for the stars, it was about putting food on the table and ensuring our kids had what they needed. Late-night job searches, updating resumes, and tapping into our networks became the new normal. The prospect of a second baby brought a renewed sense of hustle. We made a deal to find new job gigs and pick up side hustles. It wasn't about shooting for the stars. It was about making sure our kids had what they needed. Late-night job searches, tweaking resumes, and tapping into our networks became the new normal. The idea of a second baby brought out a fresh dose of hustle. Timothy explored different job options, and I took on freelance gigs in my free time. We tightened our belts, saved every penny, and even thought about cutting back on some non-essentials to get ready for Stormy's arrival. Preparing for baby Stormy was a wake-up call. We faced the challenge with grit, knowing that our family's well-being depended on our ability to adapt and hustle. The fear didn't disappear, but it turned into a push, driving us to make positive changes. In the months before Stormy showed up, we prepped not just for the new family member, but also for the money challenges we knew were coming. It wasn't an easy road, and we had to tighten our belts, but each step showed our commitment to providing a stable and loving home for our growing crew. You know, life's got a knack for throwing curveballs, but every now and then, it surprises you with some unexpected wins. After dealing with the money struggles that came with Stormy's arrival, things took a turn for the better. Timothy scored a better-paying job, and I landed a sweeter job too. It was like hitting the jackpot in terms of our paychecks. Suddenly, the stress of making ends meet became a thing of the past. We were still putting in the hours, but now the hard work was actually paying off, and not just in terms of a fatter wallet. Not satisfied with just our day jobs, we decided to still continue trying our hand at freelancing. Nights and weekends turned into hustle time, taking on extra gigs. Sure, it meant sacrificing some downtime, but the extra cash made it all worthwhile. We weren't just grinding, we were hustling smart, using our skills to boost our financial game. And just when we thought things couldn't get any sweeter, Timothy's parents surprised us with a generous cash gift. It was like winning a financial lottery, giving our savings a serious boost. We had to figure out what to do with this unexpected bonus. Should we invest it, pay off debts, or stash it away for the kids' future? However, Tim and I had always had dreams of having our own place for a long time, especially with the kids getting bigger and our apartment feeling like a sardine can. We had saved up some cash, and with the gift we had gotten from Timothy's parents, owning a house seemed doable. We heard about this real estate guy, Robert, who was the talk of the town for getting folks killer deals. Plus, all the ladies in the neighborhood seemed to have a little crush on him and really liked it. It was pretty amusing. Since Tim's job was a bit of a time sucker, I took charge of connecting with Robert. We set up a meeting to chat about what we wanted and how much we could cough up. I remember feeling so excited and nervous, lol, because we were finally on the path to owning our own home. Robert had this charm that was hard to ignore. As we chatted and checked out potential homes, his smooth talk made the process feel less like a headache. Sure, there was a bit of banter and flirting. I mean, who could resist? But back then, I didn't think too much of it. Robert also had a knack for wheeling, and dealing was impressive, and it added a layer of confidence to our house hunt. The whole experience was like an adventure, exploring different neighborhoods and weighing options. However, that day Robert and I didn't find a home that I liked, and Robert promised me that within a few days, he would reach out to me with the perfect home. And true to his word, Robert reached out a few days later, practically bubbling with excitement about a newfound gem. Without a car of my own, we decided to use Robert's car. However, the car had some issues and we couldn't use it. No worries, we ditched the wheels for public transport. Pulling up to the house, my eyes widened in awe. It wasn't just a house, it felt like a home ready to welcome my family. The space was perfect for the kids to run wild, and the overall vibe oozed warmth. Right then and there, amid the beauty of the property, a surge of certainty hit me. This was it, the place where our family could truly thrive. This was our home. As Robert and I checked out the rooms, our conversation started going beyond the mere physical features of the house. We started swapping personal stories, finding common ground, and started building a connection that went beyond the usual real estate chat. Robert's charm was on full display, and we started having some playful banter and feeling mutual attraction. But then, as luck would have it, the weather decided to play spoilsport. Heavy rain crashed our house hunting party. At first, we thought we could tough it out, wait for the rain to let up, but the universe unfortunately had other plans. The rain intensified, and any hope of reaching Timothy dwindled as our phones lost signal. Stuck in a situation like that, I made a very stupid decision. To be honest, stupid me thought that the rain was the universe telling me to go ahead with whatever Robert wanted. I knew that he wanted something more, and deep down I wanted it too. But now I regret it. Robert and I continued to playfully banter, but we knew that was a front, and before I could even register what was happening, we were on each other, and soon we were intimate. I enjoyed it immensely at first. However, with the first light of dawn breaking through the rain-soaked windows, a heavy realization set in. I had crossed a line, and guilt gripped my conscience. I am currently at home right now, when I got home. I simply told Timothy that the rain hadn't let me leave, and that's why I couldn't come home the night before. I told him I tried calling, but there was no signal. He was initially suspicious, but believed me. Especially as I told him that Robert had left despite the rain, and even reiterating to him that he could call Robert and ask him if he didn't believe me. I feel so guilty. What do? I want to tell Timothy, but at the same time, I'm scared. He'll leave me like, please, I need some advice. Update. So, for some reason, my post blew up LOL. I didn't expect it to get the kind of attention it did, and initially I just posted to get a few words of advice, but now I have tons of people in my DMs asking for an update on my situation, and let me just tell you, it is not pretty. I finally bowed to the pressure on my conscience and quietly sat Timothy down and told him about what had happened between me and Robert, and he was enraged. He couldn't believe it. He had some choice words for me. He told me he had suspected me, especially since Robert's mom, we all live in the same neighborhood, had told him that Robert hadn't come home that night. He said he had been passing by, and she stopped him and they started chatting. Isn't a surprise, Robert's mom is quite talkative, but also very nice. While he and Robert's mom were chatting, the conversation had drifted to that night, and Robert's mom had told him that Robert hadn't come home that night, and that she tried calling him but there was no service, which contradicts my statement that Robert had left. I tried lying and telling him that Robert might have left and gone somewhere else and not home, but that he didn't spend the night with me, but it was no use. Timothy had seen right through me. Timothy says he's never going to forgive me, as he'll never get over the fact that I cheated on him. He says that the fact that I did it with someone as attractive as Robert has made his self-esteem take a huge dive, and he wants a divorce. I tried convincing him, but nothing worked so safe to say I ruined my marriage. Maybe I shouldn't have just told him, but then if I hadn't, I would have felt guilty till I told him. I don't like lying, as I had parents that lied to me a lot growing up, and it has caused some issues for me. I generally prefer to be truthful whether I know the truth will hurt or not. The lease is in Timothy's name, but I haven't moved out of the apartment yet, as we fear that the sudden change will shock our kids, and we prefer to transition smoothly from living together to not living together. But Timothy barely acknowledges me. Apart from talking about the kids, he generally ignores my existence. He has also told his parents and my parents, who are very disappointed in me. Timothy's parents want him to leave me, and my parents have called multiple times and given me long speeches about how I've destroyed my marriage, and about how I was so wrong. We split the money in our joint account, with Timothy taking the larger share since he earns more. He has also taken the savings we had, and even the money his parents gifted us, and I honestly don't think I could fight for that. Either ways, that's everything that has happened in a nutshell. I hope y'all learn a lesson from my unfortunate mistake. I'm still struggling to come to terms with everything, but I know I'll be all right. Hello, guys. I am faced with a tough decision right now, and I don't know whether to follow my heart or follow my mind. My heart is saying something else, and it is something I have longed for, and my mind is telling me I am making a very big mistake. I left my husband for my high school crush. I didn't think it was a bad thing to do because I had always loved him, and I wanted to find happiness after a long time. My name is Beth, and I am a 28-year-old lady. I'm a real estate developer. I love what I do. It has been my passion for many years. The name of my husband is William, and he is 32 years old. Willem is an engineer, and we have been married for 4 years now. The relationship between me and William is not a normal one. Yes, we got married, but we didn't know each other, or let me say we weren't each other's first choice at that point. William and I got married because I had thought it was the right thing to do, because William was going to give me stability, and I need that in my life. But looking back now, it wasn't a good decision. I wasn't really in love with William. I was only in love with the idea that came with him. Indeed, we dated for a couple of months before marriage, but I wasn't really paying attention. But after marriage, I saw that William was not really who or what I had thought. He was very dominating, like he had to know everything about me, which I didn't sign up for. I thought he was going to be calm and collected, but he wasn't. He was always in my business, telling me what to do. It was getting too much for me, and I had to do something about it. I always thought maybe that was his own way of showing me love, but I did not understand. William and I, irrespective of our differences, we still found a way for us to be together in front of the world. We could go out for dinner and parties. I tried on different bases to connect with him, but it wasn't working because I had my heart somewhere else. I can say that I never really got over my high school crush because he meant everything to me. I had his pictures cut out in my room when I was still in school. People could say I was a stalker, but I didn't mind because I was in love. William and I never really agreed on many things, but the one thing we agreed on was our love for my father. My father was an exceptional man who saw William like a son he never had. They had a type of bond. I am so happy for them. Whenever William comes around, my father's face lights up like he had won a jackpot, and it hasn't been like that since I could remember. They got to catch up after a long time, and I appreciate William always trying to spend time with him. My mother was also a fan of William, which, by the way, she points out every time. We had dinner with my parents, and we talked about a lot of things. My parents kept talking about how I was as a baby to William, and I never really got the point. William was a different kind of person whenever he was with my family. He was always appearing relaxed, but in the outside world, he was this type of no-nonsense man. Dinner went well at my parents' place, and we left. The following morning, I woke up with a reminder ringing on my phone. I looked at it and saw it was the day of our anniversary. We have been married for 3 years now officially. I didn't know whether I should be happy or disappointed to find out that William left me a note saying I should dress appropriately for dinner that day. I decided to not let it spoil my mood, and I got ready for work. Throughout the day, I decided not to think about it, but deep in my heart, I wanted to receive at least a call from him, but I didn't get any. I got home to prepare for the dinner, and William came to pick me up a few moments later, so it turned out that the dinner wasn't even planned by him. It was his assistant. I knew she had her eyes on William right from the very beginning, because she could try to condemn me with every given opportunity. She would look at me in a certain way, which gave out jealousy. But I never gave her the satisfaction of getting to me. But today, I felt very foolish because my husband was seeking the help of his assistant for our anniversary dinner. The food was not to my liking because everything was badly put together, and I was allergic to almost everything on the plate. But I tried to explain to William, but he thought I was not being grateful. Our anniversary dinner ended up with us arguing about how he gave his assistant our anniversary to plan, instead of him to do it himself, or ask me for my help, and he knew we weren't on good terms. He saw it as me being jealous, and I left there because I didn't want to say something I could regret. I decided to pay Mel a visit because I knew she was capitalizing on the kind of relationship I had with William to drive us further apart. I confronted her, to which she denied innocently. I knew she was just trying to mess with me and get under my skin, but I didn't give her the satisfaction. I warned her to back off, or it was not going to end well for her. I went home and I saw William nursing a drink. I made him understand that it was not okay for him to let his assistant in our home. It wasn't okay for someone he had a romantic relationship with to plan our dinner. And he kept saying he wasn't involved with her, but I never believed him, because that was not the impression I was getting from his assistant. Because my mind kept telling me there was more. For the next couple of days, I didn't find William at home. I assumed that he had ghosted me the way he usually does after an argument. At that point, I didn't care, because I knew what he did was unacceptable. I called my best friend Brenda because I needed to speak to someone, and she was my go-to friend. Brenda and I have been best friends since we could walk, and we didn't hide anything from each other. I told her what happened between me and William, and she told me I should have handled it better. But I was angry as to why he could give an important thing, as our anniversary, to his assistant, who clearly did not like me. At the end of the day, I felt relieved. I was able to talk to her, and that's why I loved her. She took me out to dinner, and we got to catch up after a long time. Brenda, between the two of us, got the very best in life. She married the love of her life. She had 3 beautiful children, and I sometimes envy her. It was a few weeks later, and things were back together between me and my husband, William. We were doing a lot of things in order for us to fix our relationship. We agreed to go to therapy because we were not heading to a good place. But after a lot of therapy, we discovered that we were both not putting in the work in our relationship, and we didn't respect each other. After the whole therapy, we got to know more about each other's feelings, and we started working on it. After a few months, we were making progress, and I was in my office one morning when I received a call from an unknown number. I was skeptical about receiving it because I don't like speaking with strangers, but when I answered the call, I heard a voice I haven't heard in almost 20 years. It was the voice of my high school crush, Jimmy. I was in a total shock, and I didn't know what to say. I was so happy that we started catching up right away. It felt like old times, and Jimmy had told me he got my number from a mutual friend, and that he was in the city, and he had liked to see me. I was happy. I was going to see him after a long time, and we set a date for us to see each other. My mood for the whole day changed after that phone call. I went home that day with every intention of telling my husband about the call I received. I told William about it, and he quickly shut it down, and I was taken aback. I actually told him how close I was to Jimmy, and he told me I was married, and I shouldn't be going to see my high school crush. I didn't listen to him because I thought we were working on our relationship, and he should have had a little faith in me that I wasn't going to do anything I was not supposed to. But either way, I made plans to see my high school crush anyway. I met up with Jimmy and he had changed a lot. We talked about a lot of things, and at that moment, everything was perfect. I told Jimmy I was married, and he kept flirting with me like he always did back then in school. I suggested that since he was in town, we should see each other more often. I always loved his company back then, and even now. The following day, I told Brenda about Jimmy, and she was excited too, and I called Jimmy so we could meet up. Jimmy and Brenda had this kind of friendship. They were practically siblings back then, and we met up for drinks, and they talked and hugged. It was a very sweet moment. On my way home with Brenda, she had told me I should be careful with Jimmy because she saw the way he was flirting with me. I never really cared, because I also had a crush on Jimmy, but seeing as I was married then, she saw it as a problem. I saw her point, and I decided to limit my relationship with him. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was going to try. William still didn't know I was seeing my high school crush behind his back, and it went on for some time. Jimmy could ask me out to get drinks and catch up. I could accept every time because it was an outlet for me. He was someone that I knew for a long time. 2 months later, Jimmy asked me out officially on a date, and I turned him down. I was married, and I was trying to commit to my marriage, but in my mind I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone, because they could show me the reality of my actions all along, and I didn't want to face it. In my heart, I felt I hurt his feelings because for the next few weeks I never heard from Jimmy. It was as if he was angry I turned down his offer. I tried calling him, but to no avail. Months later, I received a call from him saying he had business to take care of, and he had been occupied ever since I didn't really believe him, but I decided to go with it. I was just happy I got my friend back, and we were going to be on speaking terms again. We talked about meeting each other at the end of the week. William and I at that point were in a good place thanks to our therapy, but I never really got over having Mel as his assistant. I could see her working late hours with my husband, and they were getting close. He kept telling me he had nothing to do with her except work. I didn't believe it because I had seen them in a bad position one time, but I decided to let it go. But I never spoke to him about it. If he could be that way with his assistant, I had every right to consider Jimmy's offer. If me accepting his offer of a date was going to keep him in my life, I will gladly consider it. I got to the restaurant when I saw Jimmy waving at me. I went to meet up with him and we hugged. He introduced me to a lady who he called his girlfriend. I was shocked because I thought he had no girlfriend, and that was the reason he was asking me out, but it turned out that they were not in a good place, and he thought he could move on with me. His girlfriend Ella was aware that me and Jimmy go way back, but I didn't understand why she was always looking at me in a certain way. She could always talk over me whenever I was trying to talk to Jimmy. I got to know that Ella did not like me, and I was not a fan of her either. She was all over Jimmy, and it felt like she was trying to mark her territory, and she could kiss Jimmy in front of me and make out. It was worse because Jimmy was actually encouraging her to do it. I was jealous because I had come there with the intention of telling Jimmy that we should try going out together. But since he introduced his girlfriend, I didn't know how to go about it. It went on for a while, and I didn't like it. Jimmy kept on inviting his girlfriend to our usual outings. I didn't see the need as to why he did that. There were days when Jimmy could flirt with me, and his girlfriend got the wind that we had something at some point since then. She had seen me as her enemy. I didn't really give her attention, but she kept throwing shades here and there. I was tired of her drama and thought it was time to get rid of her. I planned to get Jimmy alone in order for me to talk to him about us trying a relationship. I was feeling so left out because I had my chance, and I blew it. I was very jealous of the way Jimmy was with Ella, because I never got that with my husband William when we were dating, and even now we hardly see each other. And when we do, we don't see eye to eye. I got to Jimmy's house, and I saw that he was alone. We talked for some minutes, and I told him how I felt, and he asked me what changed my mind, and I had to explain to him what was really going on with my husband. I needed closure, and William was not giving it to me. Jimmy agreed for us to try it out, since we have always loved each other. I had to ask about Ella too, which he said she doesn't mean anything to that he had always wanted me. Unknown to us that Ella was listening to our conversation and she was going to use it against me. I got home and I felt at ease. I was gradually going to be happy again with the man I have loved forever. My crush on Jimmy goes beyond anyone can comprehend. I was genuinely happy, and I haven't been for a long time with William. It varies from one problem to another. He never listens to me, and he does whatever he wants. With Jimmy, I am heard, respected, and appreciated. I was getting ready for bed when William walked in. I felt like I hadn't seen him in days, so I decided to speak to him about where he had been for days. He ignored me like usual. After a few minutes, he told me that he kept seeing me with a guy he didn't know, and I quickly said that he was a client and we were working on something together. I knew he didn't believe me because I saw doubt in his face. He had his suspicions, but I didn't understand why, because he was literally doing the same thing with his assistant. William didn't know Jimmy and I. I'm happy because it's going to stay that way. I went on numerous dates with Jimmy. We kissed a few times and it was very beautiful. There were days we were joined by his girlfriend, and in those days we just talked casually with no touching because she was always all over him. We could discuss random things and we could talk about how we were in high school, and we could laugh. I could see that Ella was feeling left out because she could grow quiet anytime we start discussing. I didn't honestly care because I didn't want her there, but I had no choice. We were all having lunch one day in my favorite restaurant when I saw William walk in with his assistant. I tried to hide, but I failed miserably because he saw me and walked over to our table. We exchanged greetings and I told him I was having lunch with my friends. I didn't say who Jimmy was, and I was happy he didn't press further. I totally ignored Mel because I didn't care about her. William told me they were there to see a client, and they left. I felt like that was really close, and at that point, I didn't know that Mel was going to put some ideas in William's head. I got home, and he started asking me about the guy I was with. He kept saying he had been seeing me with him for weeks now, and he didn't want to say anything. I had to explain to him we had nothing going on except friendship and work. But he didn't believe me, and he kept shouting about how I wasn't loyal and whatnot. But I had to explain to him that he was literally accusing me of the same thing he was doing with his assistant. Like usual, he left mid-conversation, and I was so angry because he had always done that every time. The next day, I knew it was time to put an end to everything because I had suffered enough. I met up with Jimmy and told him it was time for him to tell me where we stood concerning our relationship. I told him we had to stop our hide and seek and start the real thing, to which he asked if I was ready to leave my husband, and I said yes because I was very tired already. He told me he had loved me from the beginning when we were in high school, and he had waited to be reunited with me, but when I got married a couple of years back, he decided to let me be, but he said he took a chance, and that's why he came looking for me. I was happy he said that because for years I had longed for what we had, and now I want it again. I brought up the issue of his girlfriend, and he told me he had no girlfriend, and that it was his own way of making me jealous in order for me to realize my true feelings. I told him it worked because it contributed to opening my eyes to see what I had been missing. Jimmy took me to his house after our discussion, and it felt right for us to take our relationship to the next level. We kissed and we had a beautiful night together. The next day I got up early to make breakfast for us. It was official that I am back with the man I had loved since high school. We were cuddling when Ella walked in on us. I knew she was hurt because of the way Jimmy broke it to her, but honestly I didn't care because she had tortured me for so long. She knew I liked Jimmy, but she still robbed it in my face. Ella left Jimmy's apartment in tears, and Jimmy told me I shouldn't worry about it. It should be over in a few days. I left Jimmy's apartment, promising to come back later. I got home, and I saw William and Mel working. William asked me where I had been, and I told him nowhere, but he kept on saying he feels I am cheating on him, and I was offended because he was asking me that in front of his assistant. I ignored him and went to our room, because this was what Ella wanted for us to have issues, and I was not going to give her that satisfaction. A few weeks later, Jimmy and I got stronger. We went on romantic dates and shared lovely moments together. It was a dream that came through. I got home after a wonderful evening, and I saw that William was at home. We had not been speaking for weeks now after what had happened, but I never really cared, and he didn't either. But I was still mad that he didn't give me care. I thought he was going to fight for our marriage. I got inside to see him looking angry, and he told me he had found out about what I had been doing for months now. I didn't believe him because I thought he was bluffing, but he said a lady called Ella had walked into his office saying I was cheating on my husband with my high school crush. The same person he had asked me not to see. I told him I was in love with my Jimmy and that I was done with the relationship at that point. I told him he could file the divorce papers. I am also tired of him going out with his assistant and also not committing to me. William made sure to put me down, saying how horrible I was and that I am going to regret what I did. I walked out of the house, and I never looked back because I was free and I was going to reunite with someone I loved. Update. Hello, guys. So right now, I am happy with my life. I have been able to settle down nicely with my boyfriend, Jimmy, and everything has been going on perfectly. Sometimes I think back to everything that has happened, and I feel like I should have handled some things differently. I know the way I acted was way out of line, but I was fighting for my happiness, and I wasn't happy with the marriage I was in. After that day, William filed for divorce, and it was handed to me by his assistant. Funny, right? It turned out I was right all along. She had eyes on him, and she finally got him. I was happy because she could have him. I wasn't interested in being together with someone who couldn't respect me. At least they were together, and they complemented each other. Life is full of surprises, and at the end of the day, you can never really tell what happens at the end of the day. I guess I've seen my own fair share of life's surprises, and I've learned as much as I can. I hope the future is better. I can only hope at the end of the day.